Today is Sunday, December 23rd, and this is Celtics Beat on the CLNS Media Network, the leading online provider of audio-video coverage of the Boston Celtics. I'm Adam Kaufman. Episode 294, featuring the Boston Globe's Gary Washburn, is sponsored by Action Heat. Save 20% on your order by going to actionheat.com/Boston. That's actionheat.com/Boston, or use the coupon code BOSTON at checkout to save 20%. Today's show also brought to you by Robinhood. Get a free stock when you sign up at Celtics.Robinhood.com. And the show, finally, brought to you by Blue Chew. Visit BlueChew.com to get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code CLNS. Just pay $5 shipping. Well, the Celtics' 8-game winning streak was fun. Lost to the lowly but suddenly surging Suns. Obviously not as good. Inconsistencies back. The injuries, well, those remain consistent. But on the heels of Rick Pitino accepting a job to coach a team in Germany, of course, we're reminded it could be much, much, much worse. Welcome into this edition of Celtics Beat. Great to be back with you, and a whole lot to cover. I'm here with the man who does a hell of a job covering the Green and the rest of the NBA for that matter, Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. Gary, how's it going?
Everything's good. Everything's good.
All right, well, full disclosure for the listeners, because this show drops on a Sunday, we are talking prior to the Friday Bucks game, but honestly, in my feeling, win or lose, even against a good team, that's really not going to change a whole lot of this conversation, because, as always, more of a big-picture show than looking back on, say, that Suns loss in particular. So let's look big picture, Gary. 30 games in as we chat right now. I think I speak for all Celtics fans when I say, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a topsy-turvy ride so far, the first 30 games. No one expected 18-12, fifth place in the Eastern Conference, and kind of now looking at basically trying to get maybe a top 3 seed as opposed to the top seed. I mean, the top seed's still attainable, but they're going to have to go on a run here, and the 8-game winning streak was nice, but, you follow that by losing to Detroit, who lost 6 in a row, and Phoenix, who was 7-24, and I think 1-13 on the road entering the game. I mean, to me, that's the worst loss of the season, but, I just don't buy the whole, well, they were injured, so what? I mean, it's the worst team in the league, and you're 12-point favorites, and they're coming in, and you've got 3 days off, and you lose, and basically you get spanked the last 3 quarters. And it's just becoming a point where the Celtics just can't figure them out. I think that Phoenix game was a real testament to who they are. They just look lost on offense at times, and then here comes Kyrie trying to do his magic. And if that doesn't work, then suddenly they don't have anybody who can score. And this has been a real strange season.
Well, and in the spirit, Gary, of that, who are these guys? I mean, even Danny Ainge said on the radio late in the week he doesn't know what to make of this team yet because of all the injuries, rotation changes, just the general lack of consistency that's resulted from those things. Do you believe you know what this team is yet, 30 games in? Because we're damn near the midway point.
Yeah, I don't think they know who they are yet. But I'm just tired of blaming injuries. Every team gets hurt. Denver doesn't have Will Barton. They haven't had Gary Harris, and they've lost Paul Millsap. I'm tired of they're injured. They didn't have Horford. I mean, it's just every NBA team deals with injuries, right? And now Baines is out, and they're going to have to deal with it. And that's why they got so much depth. That's why you sign all those players. What did Parcells say back in the day? That's why you lift all those weights. I mean, for the simple fact of, this is what you do it for, to be able to beat teams like the Phoenix Suns. So the fact is that, to me, I just think they've just been disappointments. And it's really nothing else that can be done besides just playing their way out of it. Get Horford healthy, get him back, get Morris back. You know, do you need to sign a big man to take the place of Baines? I think they need that support. I'm not a big. I like Daniel Tice, but I think rely on him to back up Horford, and then you're throwing Robert Williams out there. That's pretty tough. So this team has some issues, and their schedule, Adam. I mean, you know, I think it's 26 games the next 52 days.
Yeah, it's insane.
So every other day they're playing, and the schedule is difficult now. You know, in terms of, you know, talking Sunday. So, you know, the Christmas Day game, then the road trip to Houston, Memphis, San Antonio, which suddenly becomes a very tough trip because Memphis is better than people thought, and San Antonio now is playing better. So the Celtics are just going to have to figure this out, like, on their own and quickly.
Lots to cover, obviously, with the bigs, many of whom you mentioned. We'll get to them because we're going to talk a lot about them. But just on the whole, because you're around these guys, you're in that locker room, you're with them when it's going well, you're with them when it's not, as it hasn't the last couple, as, again, we chat right now. So given all the inconsistency, how's their confidence just to a man? How are they feeling?
I think they feel actually, you know, like they're disappointed, but I think they feel like they could get this done. You know, they've seen what happens when they play well and they're successful, but it's just not consistent enough. And then then all of a sudden, like, these losing streaks of these kids are kind of sneaky. Like, they felt really good going into Detroit, and they played they played a decent first half against Detroit. You know, down a point to a team that was desperate. Then they shot 31% in the second half, and they couldn't hit anything. And then, you know, they jump on big, 11-2, 37-26 after one, and then suddenly the ball doesn't go in the hoop. And this team has to figure out how to play better when the ball is not going into the basket and defensively, and stop teams as opposed to getting discouraged by that stuff and then allowing that to affect how they play on defense. So then suddenly Lucas, I mean, I keep pointing to the Phoenix game, but that, to me, that was unacceptable. It was ridiculous. I know the Suns had beaten the Knicks and dropped 128 on them, but you let, like, you know, Ayton goes for 28 and 18 or 23 and 18. Devin Booker only scores 25 points, but you let Josh Jackson, you let other people get in, you know. To me, that's just unacceptable.
We'll get right back to Gary. I want to tell you today's show is sponsored by Action Heat. Action Heat makes the world's best battery-heated clothing. Heat on demand at the touch of a button. It's really cool. You can control your environment with Action Heat. Action Heat clothing is engineered to safely and efficiently deliver heat via heating panels similar to a heated car seat. They can reach temperatures up to 135 degrees and are powered by rechargeable 5-volt lithium-ion batteries that last up to 12 hours on each charge. Action Heat batteries can also be used to recharge your phone or any other gadget while you're wearing them, so dual purposes. It's nice. Perfect for any friend or family on your holiday gift list. I know that's rapidly approaching. Great for anyone who works outdoors, skiers, snowboarders, anybody that just loves being outside and hates being cold. Action Heat clothing provides toasty warm comfort for your whole body, including heated jackets, socks, gloves, hats, and much more. We got a special deal for our listeners to save 20% off your entire order. Just go to actionheat.com/Boston to check out everything Action Heat has to offer. That's actionheat.com/Boston or use the code BOSTON at checkout to save 20%. Stay toasty warm while you enjoy all your outdoor activities this winter with Action Heat. Let's build on this conversation with the bigs because Al Horford, like you said, he's dealing with the knee injury. This is now, if you include the Bucks game, because I can already tell you he's not going to play in that one, so that's going to be 7 straight absences. The team understandably being exceedingly cautious with him, so I'm fine with that. I mean, have him healthy for later. I worry about his long-term future in Boston and what that could mean contractually and all that stuff, but that's a whole other conversation. So he's out. Gershon Yabusele has been out, but he'll return. Aaron Baines, as we know, he broke his hand. He projects to miss 4 to 6 weeks after surgery. Everyone's on the Time Lord bandwagon, and we can do the Robert Williams conversation. We will. But on the whole, this is a problem. That specific position, an area that it seemed like an area of real depth on this roster. Part of the reason that Danny Ainge said a couple weeks back that, hey, we don't need Kendrick Perkins because we don't have enough minutes for the guys that we have. Well, right now, there is a total lack of depth. So, going back to something that you said before, and you wrote about for that matter, you believe this team does need to add a big. Who do you like out there?
Well, I mean, the guys who are on the street aren't. I mean, it is Perkins or a Tyler Zeller. I mean, Zeller would be a guy that we all know what Tyler can do and can't do. He would be a system guy, a guy who knows the offense, something like that. Perk would be more leadership. You know, laying some hammer in the paint, a couple of hard fouls. You know, unless you're willing to give up something, you're not going to get a quality big man. But, you know, for Danny to say, well, we've got Gershon. I mean, I like Gershon. One, he's not a center. Let's be honest here. You know, he's a 3-4. And to put faith that he's going to really, you know, add some support to the bigs, and he's going to help stop, you know, contain DeAndre Ayton and other bigs from just literally gobbling up every rebound, I think is unrealistic. I mean, I think he's a, you know, improving player and he's getting more confidence, but it's like Robert Williams out there, Adam. I mean, how much confidence can you have in Robert Williams at this point? He's just learning. He's a pup, you know? Mm-hmm. And so in Tice, you know, there's times like Tice played 21 minutes against the Suns and had 3 rebounds. Like, as the primary big, like, you know, you got to rebound more. You know, you can't play 21 minutes and have, you know, have less rebound or fewer rebounds than a Gordon Hayward. You've got to get in there and get dirty. Then he gets a lot of, you know, Tice tends to like get a lot of silly fouls, out of position fouls. So, I mean, they do have an issue unless they want to play small. And you see what happens if they play small. Bigs will dominate them. So they got to figure something out. Like, you know, you could sign, you know, you could wait till 10 days. Contracts are available, which is January 5th. So you can, essentially, you don't have to make a trade. You can, like you know, hypothetically waive Jabari Bird and then sign a guy to a 10-day. You can pull a guy from the D-League who's an athlete, has active, you know, like, there's plenty of guys out there who can jump, run, rebound, and play real hard. You know, I think that's all you need, who might be a veteran, as opposed to just saying, okay, let's throw Robert Williams out there and Tice, you know, because let's face it, Adam, I mean, I can't say that Horford's knee is going to be sound all year. This sounds like something that needs to be addressed, and maybe this 7, 8, 9 game absence, however he misses, will help it, and I'm sure it will. But does that mean he's 100%?
I doubt it.
Does that mean he's approaching 85% and it's good enough to play on? This might be something they have to watch throughout the season. You know, this patellar tendonitis. So I think they personally need to do something, because I think the game, you know, the times, like you said, we're almost halfway through, Ad. We'll be halfway through the season in early January. Times are wasted, and you're 4.5 out as we speak of the number 1 seed, and, you know, you got to start making a move. You got Indiana ahead of you. You got Philadelphia ahead of you. You got Milwaukee ahead of you, in addition to Toronto. So if you really look at it, I mean, this is how it's going to be.
Well, at the very least, they got to at least maintain home court advantage. We know that. Not that that's a conversation, as you said earlier, we expected to be having in mid-December, but regardless, or late December for that matter, that's where we are. So you think he should make a move, Danny Ainge? I agree with you, Ainge, for what it's worth in this moment, said he doesn't anticipate going out and getting a big, but again, we'll see how things play out, especially as health. Health is always going to dominate what Ainge is going to do to help, because you can't just go and throw Marcus Smart at center all the time like Brad Stevens maybe is open to doing with his whole positionless basketball approach. But how do the C's, do you think, compensate for the loss specifically of Baines, especially defensively? Because he's a clear difference maker. The schedule, like you said, it's about to get not only a whole lot more jam-packed with games every other day the next couple of months, but a lot tougher, too. Your colleague Adam Himmelsbach wrote that over, I think it was 16 of the last 20 games have come against teams that have been sub 500. And even a few of the teams that were over 500 are, have been over by a game or two. So tougher schedule, consistent schedule, and again, lacking a significant, in my estimation, and I said this going back to when he was very briefly a free agent, and then, of course, almost automatically re-signed. A guy who's really undervalued for what he is and what he brings to this team.
Yeah, Baines is a tough loss. I mean, just what he does defensively. And now, I mean, the fact that he can score a little bit around the basket and even stretch the floor for a three-pointer. I mean, he's hit, I want to say 12 three-pointers this year. They're just going to have to be more, I hate to sound scrappier defensively. They're going to need Horford back eventually. They need to be more scrappier defensively, and they're going to have to just kill teams playing small and kind of outscore them. Because as we saw the other night, I mean, DeAndre Ayton is, he's a big man, obviously, and he just had his way, and then they couldn't get any defensive rebound. I mean, Phoenix just kept tapping the ball up against the basket until it went in, and you've got to have someone to rebound, and so I think they're going to have to throw in Adam. They're going to have to throw in Robert Williams, and they're just going to, but when you throw in Robert Williams, you got to understand, besides a dunk or a lob that he's taking, he's really no offensive threat.
Yeah, he doesn't have a shot.
No. I mean, the other night, you saw the game. He had an open, clear path to the basket. He didn't take it. And the other time, he got fouled. He missed both free throws. So you can't really rely on him offensively at this point, except for a lob. Okay, so you're basically throwing, a young Tyson Chandler out there or something like that, right? Like a guy who can jump, lob, dunk, and get you some rebounds, because he had 7 rebounds and 21 wins. That's what concerned me about Tice is Williams goes up there and plays 21 minutes or whatever, 23 minutes, gets 7 rebounds. Tice plays 21 minutes, gets 3. But they're going to have to figure this out. They're going to have to go back to the we can't rebound very good days, which, was pre-Baines. I mean, you remember those teams that just, Brad basically conceded they were going to get pounded on the boards every night. So
for a few years. That's
what they're going to. Yeah, it lasted for a while until they got Baines, until they were able to get some bigs who could rebound. They got to cross their fingers on Horford getting back. And secondly, they're just going to play extremely good small ball defense, and they're going to have to concede that the big is going to dominate. Now, is that you're looking at, guys like coming up, Clint Capella. Clint's a very limited offensive guy. He's not Ayton. He's just going to hit, lobs, dunks. Marc Gasol in Memphis. So you don't have that, Shaq coming up, or, you don't have that dominant big coming up. So they might be able to get away with that, but to me, we're going to have to figure this out, and someone's going to have to step up.
We'll get right back to the program, but today's show brought to you by Robinhood. It's never a bad time to start thinking about your investment portfolio. Whether you're looking to buy or sell stocks, crypto, ETFs, make sure you sign up for Robinhood. And I know markets can be complicated, but Robinhood makes everything really easy for you. Robinhood is going to build your own customized news feed right when you sign up. They sort certain stocks for you in different collections like the 100 most popular or social media or pharmaceutical, and you'll learn more about it as you go along. Get started early. Sign up. It's extremely easy. All it takes is 4 taps on your phone to start trading. Best part, Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees. You keep all your profits. Robinhood is giving listeners a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. Sign up at Celtics.Robinhood.com at Celtics.Robinhood.com. Let's get back to the show. A question, Gary, that I've received from a number of people on Twitter. I'm sure you have as well. What's going on with Jaylen Brown? We know that he's battled injuries and inconsistency. I have to imagine his confidence has taken a hit. He's started, now he's coming off the bench, doesn't like it, but at least accepts it when the team's winning. Now the team's not winning. He's clearly struggled to find his fit on this team, which really isn't something going into the year I anticipated. I thought that was going to be Marcus Morris, not Jaylen Brown, even with key players out. He's not the same guy that he was last year, and the kid can't shoot right now. So forget last year's playoffs when he was very good and people started saying another level, and he's getting these comparisons to being a young Kawhi Leonard when all of those trade talks were reportedly going on. Why isn't Jaylen Brown the same guy he was even during the regular season last year?
It's hard to figure out, Adam. I don't think he enjoys – I think that playing with like Alt Tatum and Hayward. I don't think he enjoyed that. I'm not talking about like it wasn't fun, but I don't think he found a niche. I don't think Jaylen's a selfish guy. I just think that in many cases, he just doesn't know how to fit in at this point. And then when he tries, he's trying too hard. He's doing too much, where he's making turnovers, or he's trying to be that, I don't want to use Vinnie Johnson, but that microwave guy, the 10 points in 10 minutes guy. When he comes off the bench, he's trying to make a splash. And it's just like, no, Jaylen, just play your game. And then, when there's times when he's gotten hot and he's looked like he's back, but for the most part, Adam, he hasn't. I mean, he's struggled. And I don't know if it's the pressure of this contract year coming up and him looking at some of these guys getting the 4-year, $80 million deal like a Miles Turner, and these guys getting these rookie extensions, and Jaylen saying, I got to play well because I got to earn this money. And secondly, I don't want to be Terry hanging out there as a restricted free agent. Two, I know that Tatum's coming right behind me, so they're going to pay him. So I got to do what I got to do and show that I'm on the verge of being an all-star, not this year, but, I got all-star potential to get that extension and get a lucrative one, not the, I think it'd be nice. I think he'd be okay if he got like the Marcus Smart extension. But I think Jaylen, you know him, I know him. He wants that 4 and 80, right?
Sure.
He feels like, hey, I'm part of this future. I'm a cornerstone. That might be what's generated the pressure in him, and the lack of execution and the turnovers and the foul trouble. I think the NBA's new rules really affected him in terms of like coming off screens because he was asked to, guard a Kawhi Leonard. He was asked to guard essentially the opposing team's best player if they were a 3-man, 3 or 4, and he was asked to do that, and he was struggling, coming off screens and making the contact and getting those quick whistles. And I think that affected his confidence. And now that he's come off the bench, when he got hurt, because sometimes getting hurt's the worst thing. It costs you playing time and in a role. Now he's trying to be the microwave guy, and it just hasn't. It's not a good fit for him.
Yeah, it's really kind of a shame. You never want to say that, and I feel like we've had this conversation going back to the offseason before some of these issues reared their ugly head. You never want to say that too much depth is a bad thing. I think you're seeing that it's not just because guys go down, you need that depth, and they've dealt with a lot of no real serious injuries this year, but a lot of miss a game here, miss a game there. The thing with Horford, Hayward missed time, Irving has missed, Morris, whoever, Smart, everyone has missed a little bit of time, it feels like, and so you look to guys who can be that microwave guy, and you're right, Jaylen can't be that guy. Terry Rozier certainly can't be that guy. He needs 30-plus minutes to feel offensively comfortable and in a rhythm with the game. But, with Brown, going back to what you said about Smart, I don't see Jaylen being at all happy with, let's say, 4 for 52 like Marcus got, because Marcus doesn't, he hasn't had the comparisons to Kawhi Leonard or great players in the NBA, all-star level players. No one has talked about Smart as being a potential all-star. There's all-defensive team and the winning plays and a guy you got to have on a championship team, but Jaylen is supposed to be this building block. And now you're right. I think he just doesn't at all know the fit. And I guess it sort of leads to this next question, which is, how much is what we've seen this year, and granted, plenty of time for him to turn things around. It's still December, but how much is what we've seen this year impacted his trade value if things should go that way? Has his stock dropped from conversations that we had in the offseason?
I don't think his trade value has dropped dramatically. I think he's still thought very highly, and I think other teams do understand that with the depth of Boston, that, Jaylen was going to take a hit statistically, especially with Hayward returning and needing minutes, and then Tatum making that jump from number 3 guy, 4 guy to number 2 guy behind Kyrie, right? So I think everyone kind of understands the situation Jaylen is in. I don't think he's damaged goods or he is completely hurt his stock. Has he had a good season? No. Is it probably taken a little bit of a hit maybe with some teams? Yes. But to say that, oh, man, he's, they can't move him now. No. 22-year-old freakish athlete who has shown the ability to shoot from the three, who has shown the ability to attack the basket, whose ball handling is improved, who can play very good defense, when he's not fouling. I think he's definitely marketable. And the question is, what do you want to get back for Jaylen? What happens there? It's going to be an interesting time, Adam, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in future shows where, here comes all these draft picks now, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 potential picks. So they're going to have to make some decisions. They can't have 4 guys next year and 4 new guys next year on this team. Okay, so some guys are going to have to go, whether it be a Jaylen, whether it be, a Gordon. Somebody's going to have to go if they have a chance to get, a real cornerstone in this draft. I don't know, the Kings are doing well. The Zion stuff, that's not going to happen. And so are the Grizzlies, but they have a chance to probably get top 10 picks. So, all this there's going to be some changes. I don't think, though, one, that Jaylen's value is taking a major hit, and 2, I think they still very much believe in him.
Right back to Gary, but one more thing to tell you about. Guys, you remember the days when you're always ready to go? Well, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com, that's blue like the color blue, BlueChew.com brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. You know how they work. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach, and since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Now, it's not just for guys with dysfunction, it's for any guy who wants extra function and to enhance their performance in the bedroom. Blue Chew is prescribed online, shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, best of all, no more awkwardness. They make it in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code CLNS. Just pay $5 shipping. Again, it's Blue, B-L-U-E, Chew. You know how to spell that, C-H-E-W.com, BlueChew.com, promo code CLNS to try it free. Back to Gary. So going back to the offseason, and again, a lot of these issues started to sort of stem. My biggest concern for this team, I've talked about this recently on other shows, was what this team's effort was going to be on a night-to-night basis, because now they were talented enough that they didn't have to go balls to the wall every single game the way they have in past years under Brad Stevens. And sure enough, they haven't. And in fact, after that loss to the Suns, Kyrie Irving, I'm going to play what he had to say, he questions Boston's focus and how much they care. Again.
When we try, we're in the game all the time, and then when we don't, we're clearly not. And then teams are just we have looked to the refs or anything like that. So for us as a growing team and learning from one another, we just have to continue to build that cohesion. I was just thinking about over when I was in my locker. It's just the NBA season. You just want to have great pockets of games. You have a good consistent run, and then now you have a lapse, and now it's build it back up and continue to work every single day and to be a very great team. Like I said, it's a work in progress every day.
So, Gary, I get the work in progress thing, but to question how much your team cares about winning when it's on the floor, that's concerning.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that from him. And obviously he's kind of the artery of the team. He understands what's going on. He's been around. He's a champion and Olympic champion, et cetera. So he's been in a lot of locker rooms. And, yeah, I think he said out of what we were all thinking, that sometimes they just lose interest. And I think truly, they thought, we got a bad team down 11 after 1. This is a W. We're here. And then we got them, 73-68 in the third. And they're going to fold eventually, right? And they did. And then all of a sudden the Celtics start firing. They get back to their firing threes and trying to make the home run ball and then sometimes moving the ball too darn much where, I mean, just so many, the extra pass the ball, or sorry, shoot the ball. No, you're making the one last pass, and Rozier darts to the rim to try to get the rebound, and Smart wants to find him for three and throws it out of bounds. These plays that are nice and effort, but they need to be they have to be more polished. They got to get this together. And Kyrie's right. They got to focus. And it can't only be when you play the good teams. And now the good teams, you could still focus at them, and they still could lose to a Milwaukee, a Houston, a Philadelphia. Like, none of these wins are guaranteed. Phoenix was a guaranteed win if they did what they're supposed to do, right? Now the guaranteed wins are done. Maybe Minnesota, Dallas, and after the first year, is a team that games are like, okay, yeah, they should win. The next few, starting with Charlotte has already beaten them. Philadelphia is a monster with a legitimate center who's going to go for 40 and 30 if the Celtics let him. Houston, Memphis, and San Antonio. You can't, they don't win in San Antonio often. You can't turn around and say they're going to beat the Spurs in AT&T Center just like that. So where are we going here? Are they going to stumble back near the 500 mark? Like, because that's what we're kind of thinking here, right? I mean, there's 6 games above 500. Like, you don't want to go back to 500, obviously. I mean, you want to start getting 10, 15 games above 500. I mean, Toronto's not going to let off the gas. Neither is Indiana, Philadelphia, or Milwaukee. Like, they've got to do something now.
Well, it's just, it's not a skill or talent thing. It's effort. It's desperation. It's desire. It's the give-a-bleep meter. To a certain extent, that does come back to coaching. And look, I love Brad Stevens, but how is this issue corrected? Because it seems like it just can't all come from the players.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know how much. The only way you're going to motivate guys is by denying them playing time, changing roles, like Brad said, and he did in some of these games earlier. Going to the hockey shift, putting 5 new guys in the game, benching guys, in the fourth quarter, not letting guys usually play those key fourth quarter minutes. Let them sit and watch, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when Robert Williams is out there trying his butt off, and a Tice or whoever, Horford is sitting and watching. Like, that's the only way to really get through to these guys. It's got to be within. I mean, the players have to figure this out. The Marcus Morrises and some of these leaders have to come in and say, guys, like, we got to give a full 48. Like, we are not good enough. We are not the Warriors. We have done nothing. Okay, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row. We lost 2 years in a row. We have done nothing. We are not some accomplished ball club who has won championships and can turn on. We are not the 2010 Celtics, the 48-win Celtics or whatever that went to the final. Like, we're not that team. We're not Garnett. We're not Pierce. We're not Allen. Like, we haven't done what they've done. So, who knows, Adam? They could pull that off. They could win 48, 52 games, turn on, and get to the finals. I don't think any of us would be surprised that happened. But you can't rely on that. You got to step up. And I think it's the leaders of the team, the Kyries, the Marcus Morrises, the Horfords, even the Hayward. Hayward's got to take more of a leadership role instead of being the kind of the cool hand, Luke kind of, hey, I'm just trying to figure this thing out. Like, we're 30 in, Gordon. You're part of this team now. Like, you got to take responsibility for when you don't play well, and you got to be more of a leader. You're pushing 30. You're not 30 yet, but you're 28 years old. You're an all-star. Like, the kind of being to himself thing that's got to end with Gordon. Gordon's got to be more of a leader too.
Gary, I saved this for the end because it's really the least important topic in terms of what's imminent, but Adrian Wojnarowski got the Anthony Davis conversation going again a few days ago on a podcast with Zach Lowe when he talked about the C's hawking Davis for years, wanting to land him over the summer or before next year's trade deadline. Honestly, listening to this, it was nothing new. It just made news because it was Woj saying it. But what's the latest you know or believe on the Davis-Celtics rumblings?
I mean, obviously, Adam is an interest. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league, top 2-3 players in the league. Okay, one, as we know, they can't trade for him this year unless they include Kyrie in the deal. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
Secondly, let's look at trying to, acquire him next year. You could do that. Okay, the question is this. One, you're going to have to re-sign him. Okay? And then how much in luxury taxes does this ownership want to swim in? Okay? Because if you're going to have to re-sign Kyrie, you're going to have to re-sign. If Jaylen comes up and turns it on, he's due an extension. Okay? Horford's going to opt out, likely, and then want to come back for 3 years, $60 million, something like that. He'll take a reduced salary, 30 to 20 maybe, for the extended time. Okay, so you save $10 million there, and you still have Gordon on your books. So you add Davis, unless you include Kyrie. I don't think that's going to happen because you got to re-sign Kyrie. You add Davis to that, so now you've got Davis, Horford, Hayward, and Irving, in addition to Jaylen's extension potentially, and then Tatum coming up in 20.
Well,
okay?
but I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm assuming, as I think you would too, and we can get into a specific package if we want here, but if Anthony Davis is coming over, all those guys you just mentioned, they won't all still be here.
No. So I guess my point was, Adam, they're gonna have to. Who do you want to trade for Davis? That's the thing.
Sure.
Number one, they're going to ask for Tatum. You want to trade Tatum? Some people, yeah, forget about it. I'll trade Tatum for Tatum. Okay. Are you sure you want to do that?
I don't want to do it. How do you want to do it?
No, I don't want to trade a 20-year-old potential all-star for a guy who's 26 and is going to give you. And I like Davis, but he's a 65-game-a-year guy.
Yeah, deals
right?
with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, he's going to give you 65 to 70 games a year. He's a tremendous player, but he's never won. Okay. So my thing is that in a perfect world, you would like for them to take Hayward, right? And which would be perfect. But that contract could essentially become an albatross. And also, I think Hayward has a player option after next season, but I was sure he would take it. So it gets murky because in a perfect world, you wouldn't want to give up Tatum. You would give up Brown, Hayward, some picks. The Pelicans, remember, they lost Chris Paul, right? And the New Orleans franchise, they didn't make a lot out of that deal. They didn't get a lot out of that. Bill Dibbs, the GM, is not going to trade Anthony Davis for scraps or for Hayward, Brown, and I just don't see that happening. I think they're going to ask for a ransom, and they're going to try to re-sign him. So it gets murky, and I think there's a possibility of it. But who do you want to give up? That's the thing.
I mean, you wouldn't give up Tatum, I wouldn't give up Tatum, but really the most important opinion here is obviously that of Danny Ainge. Do you think Danny would give up Tatum in a deal for Davis?
That's a good. I think no. I don't think he. I think that would be his last resort. And
last resort he'd do it, or it's a deal breaker.
I think it might be a deal breaker, in my opinion. But I just think you look at Tatum. He's a young guy. He doesn't turn 21 until March. So this is a guy who's his future's ahead of him, right? I mean, completely. He's a pup. He's a baby, and he's has shown the ability to take over games. Okay. The question is, do you think Davis brings you a championship? Do you think the team that you construct with Davis, regardless of because you got to give up guys, is that a championship caliber team? Is Davis a championship player? I think all that you have. I'm not sure. I like Anthony Davis. He looks great, but but dropping 45 in losses, I mean, it just doesn't do much for me. The Pelicans, hey, they made the second round last year. They did a good job, but I don't know Anthony's never played on the big stage. So I am not as high. I'm not saying I'm not as high on him. I'm very high on him. I'm not as high on selling everything in the kitchen sink to get him in Boston, and that will be the answer.
I'll let you go with this, and it's just for fun, really, because honestly, we could be years away from actually getting an answer to the question, but Anthony Davis to the Celtics, you had to put a percentage on it. What would it be?
Oh, boy. I'd say like 30. I mean, and that's not good, but I do think there's a chance. I do think it's something they explore. I think you would be silly not to. Danny Ainge would be silly not to call Dale Demps and say, what would it take? And are you trying to move him, and is he looking to leave? And also, remember, Davis is a free agent. After next season, you're going to have to re-sign him the same summer, along with, Kyrie. So 2 max deals, Horford. You would like someone to take Hayward eventually. I don't know if that's going to happen. So it's a lot going on there. I mean, logistically, it's a lot happening.
Gary, this was great as always. I really appreciate it. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too. Thanks a lot, Adam.
So, 30%. All right. Something for you guys to think about. I know everyone's on the Anthony Davis conversation right now because, again, when Woj speaks, we listen. And, Gary's a guy that I listen to, too. Obviously incredibly well connected, especially in Boston, not to mention across the NBA. And so, it's always an interesting conversation. It really is. But great stuff from Gary and more imminent, as I said, even going into that Davis conversation, far more imminent, the situation with the bigs and what happens with the Celtics, and are they going to slide to that 500 mark with this schedule that's coming up, because it is incredibly tough. Going to get some more games on the road, the every other day competition, and a much tougher competition than what we've seen as of late. So hopefully we'll have some good news in future podcasts in the new year to come. But we got another show before that and a whole lot more excitement as it concerns Celtics beat as well. Once again, today's show sponsored by Action Heat. Save 20% on your order by going to actionheat.com/Boston. That's actionheat.com/Boston, or use the promo code Boston at checkout to save 20%. Today's show also brought to you by Robinhood. Get a free stock when you sign up at Celtics.Robinhood.com. Also, this show is brought to you by Blue Chew. Visit BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code CLNS. Just pay $5 shipping. That's it. Thanks again, Gary, my producer, Evan, Nick, Larry, John, everybody at CLNS Media. Most importantly, you guys make all the difference. We appreciate when you find us on iTunes, on Stitcher. Get me on Twitter at Adam M. Kaufman. Always happy to engage with you to talk season. I know there's a lot to talk about and debate with this team right now. And again, subscribe, as you are always encouraged to do on iTunes. Just search Celtics Beat, subscribe, leave us feedback. We appreciate 5-star reviews if you feel so kind, or just tell us what you like, what you don't like. We can always get better. This show, it's definitely going to get better in the new year to come, but we've got another show even before that, so don't worry about the new year just yet. There's lots of excitement coming up with this program and just a ton of good stuff, I hope, with this team. I want more Gino in the new year. I want to hear this. I want to see the man dancing on the Jumbotron, and I just want everyone to stop worrying about this team because it's not fun. The shows are better when we're talking about things going well and getting excited for playoff runs and things like that. But hey, trade deadline's not far away either. But all right, I'm rambling. I'm going to go. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah if you already celebrated, Happy Holidays in general, and talk to you real soon.
Hello, I'm Dan Lothian, host of the Behind the Media podcast on the CLNS Media Network. Along with Jimmy Young, we dive into the biggest media headlines each week with honest, informed, and sometimes irreverent perspectives. It's not all serious. We deliver information and entertainment. As we like to say on Behind the Media, we find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Listen to our podcast and get prepped for the next trip to the water cooler. Subscribe to Behind the Media wherever you get your podcast, or find us on www.clnsmedia.com.